What do you see as obstacles for inclusion of women entrepreneurs in achieving funding? So I get what you've said already is that, you know, a woman has to be comfortable in who she is. Is there anything else that you would see as obstacles for us?
They should really partner up with someone who's done Harvard and is the right.
Who's got all that necessary ticks against their names.
that was a joke.
Yeah.
Let me think. Well, listen, I think the number one factor, whether you're a man or a woman,
yes,
that nobody likes to back single person teams. So
okay.
When you start building, there's a couple of young ladies who recently got funded doing a jewelry business out of New York, and that's an all women team. I mean, that's even rarer.
Yes.
We sometimes see a mixed team, but an all women team is even
yes.
rarer. I mean, but no matter who you are as an entrepreneur, your first hurdle is to get a couple of co-founders on board who are willing to embrace what you do and do it not for cash, but do it because they believe in the idea,
yes.
and they believe that the very unlikely event that this piece of equity they're given is going to be worth something someday. So again, when you build that original team, also look for diversity. I think you have to be realistic. You have to recognize the fact that the market is probably not that woman friendly.
Yes.
And people are going to question some of your skills. And so one of the things women are blessed with more than men, and I guess it's both a blessing and a curse, is
yes.
self-awareness.
Yes.
In fact, when a guy gets told no after a funding meeting, he'll probably say, "Screw you! I'll go and demonstrate to you that I can build it."
Yes.
When a woman is being told no, she'll probably go home and say, "What did I do wrong?
Yes.
What is fundamentally inappropriate about my behavior, who I am, or my idea?
Yeah.
And why did this person reject me?"
Yes. Yes.
And so there is a tendency to deal with rejection here that is quite different, where women tend to internalize it and look within themselves as to what they need to change and what's wrong, whereas guys will tend to almost be energized by rejection and kind
yes.
of want to, they'll want to get into a fight and go prove
yes.
next door that they can do it better than you think they can.
Yes.
So I would be cognizant of that and recognize that the natural tendency is going to be to turn inwards, whereas the natural tendency should be to say, hey, Fred at Atlas Venture is really a dorky European guy who doesn't get my idea. I should focus on going to, whoever it is at Fundex who's going to give me money.
Very good. Very good. Thank you. Cindy also says VCs tend to say they back the person and not the idea, but if they always back the same kind of person, male, then women entrepreneurs have a better chance of getting funded when they have something that's actually working in the marketplace. Do you agree that women need to have their business developed before they can achieve funding?
Well, so if the generic point is that it's harder for women to get funded,
yes,
then if they push the business further, that lowers that hurdle because now people can rely on evidence more
right.
than the team. So there is, I think it's Ben Holmes at Index that once used this on a panel I was running, but he was painting this triangle of team, technology, and traction, right?
Right.
And he said, depending on if you score really highly on team, I won't be as bothered with traction, but if your team doesn't score that highly, I'll ask you for more traction or more tech. And we're sort of trying to explain the sort of tension you might have between the various dimensions of financing.
Got it.
So if there is really a negative bias applied against women, that negative bias can be overcome by, showing fantastic tech innovation or showing more traction in the marketplace.
Yep. Okay.
There are some forces of nature that seem to defy all the rules. Like a friend of mine is Indu Navar on the West Coast, and she was voted best entrepreneurs by PtII a few times, etc. I mean, she's a woman who's built a business out of just sheer strength and basically being such a force of nature that nobody could really resist her. And then building a team around her that was fantastic. I don't think she ever let being a woman stand in her way.
Right.
But having said that, I'm absolutely cognizant of the biases, and I do think bringing your business further, it kind of helps you get over that for sure.
Yes, thank you. Often advice for sourcing venture is equated with dating, and as you know, my background is in the online dating industry, implying that there is a matching that needs to happen with entrepreneur and investor. Have you noticed a general psychological profile of venture capitalists and also of entrepreneurs that promotes the attraction and synergy between them to develop a great startup?
It's an interesting and relatively complex question. There are quite varied profiles in the venture industry. There are some people who love the hunt and the deal and the money to work. There are other people, like me, for example, I'm much more about what happens next and figuring out product market fit and strategy and building the team up.
Yeah.
And I will tend to have a slightly different profile from the pure hunter, or in the kind of builder category. Generally speaking, there is a tendency amongst the VCs, a schizophrenic role, because on the one hand, you have to love the businesses you invest in. On the other hand, you have to be a portfolio manager.
Yes.
So you have that tension in your brain between loving the entrepreneurs and wanting the projects to succeed, and on the other hand, knowing that half of them go bust. And that you have to go through the process of identifying which ones you need to let go.
Yes.
On top of that, you're a mentor, you're a shareholder, you're a friend, you're an advisor, you're a tough investor. I mean, it's
complex.
The net of that is that VCs tend to develop relatively thick skins because it is tough to push a project through inside your organization. Most startups go wrong, and that's a mathematical fact.
Yes.
And so you kind of steel yourself over time, and the difficulty is not becoming blasé, but keeping that passion and genuine engagement with the entrepreneurs, whilst recognizing that you're in a tough business where most of the time it goes wrong. Now, the people who do well, hence, in terms of entrepreneurs who have the right psychological profile, tend to display some but not all of the same characteristics.
Right.
So there is a certain level of suspension of disbelief. In other words, I'll break down doors, I will negate the probabilities, I will fight against the odds.
Yes.
At the same time, I'm thick-skinned enough that, when we disagree on stuff, I will make it through, and, it will never break the relationship, and I won't take it personally because I understand you're doing your job.
Yes.
I'm building a company, tough. I understand you have to be mature and realistic about what it takes to build a business. So you need a dose of absolute, ignorance and enthusiasm, and at the same time, you want a certain grittiness and toughness that says, hey, I'm going to make it no matter what. I'm also going to make it in spite of you.
Yes.
If you decide to give up on me, I won't give up, and I might pull a rabbit out of the hat and make it happen. So, so you kind of need these alpha personalities with enough self-awareness and enough grittiness that you can kind of deal through the whole process. And I think we tend to be absorbed and fascinated by these highly ambitious, highly energetic profiles that also at the same time have this real world thick skin and toughness to them.
Okay. And when you're talking, it makes me sort of visualize that both the VCs and the entrepreneurs are quite extremists in their and complex in their personalities. So similar in that regards.
Listen, the answer is it depends. I've seen a lot of VCs are, alpha males. They're generally very smart, but they'd like you to know they're smart. And unfortunately, that applies to me, but I'm working on it. You get a fair amount of ego. You get people who want to be respected, who want people to recognize they're smart, who are, feel they're important, even though if you look at the VC industry in absolute terms, it's a tiny industry, but nevertheless.
Yes.
And then combined with a genuine passion for creating stuff. And so there's a ton of very different profiles out there.
Right.
There's also a lot of marketing hype. So we always say success has many fathers, and failure is an orphan. The reality is the VCs basically direct money and then vaguely influence the course of a company. In rare cases do we play a fundamental role in shaping it, but I would say that's the outlier. And usually the better the entrepreneur, the less we provide in terms of absolute value add, right?
Okay.
And so fundamentally, I think our role is to enable these entrepreneurs to kind of spread their wings and really create value,
Yes.
to help them avoid massive mistakes we've seen before, to help them attract good talent.
Yes.
But there is many personalities as there are VCs, I would say,
Got
and
it.
it's hard to derive generalities.
Okay, thank you.